Hi everyone! Today we are going to be making a basic leather tote bag. This bag will be made from our gray Redrock leather, which is a 3 to 4 ounce weight and super soft and supple. The first thing I'm going to do is mark the leather using our pattern. The pattern measures 18 inches wide by 32 inches long, and it makes a nice large tote bag, but this pattern is scalable and can be made to your desired size. Once the leather is marked, I'm going to cut out the pieces using a utility knife and a 4-foot straight edge with non-slip tape on the back. Make sure your knife is sharp or has a new blade to ensure clean cuts, since this leather is so soft and supple. On the main body of the bag, mark a 2.5 inch by 4 inch rectangle in the middle of either side. This will create the bottom of the bag and the gussets once the bag is sewn. We'll be folding down and stitching the top of the bag and the top of both pockets so the raw edge of the leather isn't showing. Mark and glue the top edges of the main body. The glue I'm using is S18 all-purpose cement, but you can use barge cement or a white glue. Since this is going to be stitched, it does not have to be a permanent bond. Make sure to give your glue about 10 minutes of dry time before folding and pressing. I'm using a roller to press the leather together, and this also helps the seam lay flat. I am now punching a 1/8 inch hole at the top 4 corners of the main body of the bag. We'll be adding rivets here later on in the video. We are now ready to mark and punch our stitch line on the main body. I set my wing divider at 1/4 inch and mark my stitch line. When punching your stitching holes, it's best to lay a piece of scrap leather underneath the leather that you're punching. I didn't do it in this take, but later on in the video, you'll see that this helps create a nice clean stitch hole. Repeat this for the outside pocket and the inside pocket, adding rivet holes to the top corners of the outside pocket as well. To determine your thread length for stitching, take the length of the piece you're sewing and multiply it times 3. This bag is 100% hand stitched, but you could absolutely save some time and use a sewing machine. We are also using a stitching pony to help keep the bag in place so both hands are free to sew. The stitch we are using is a standard saddle stitch, and we are using 0.8 millimeter Ritza Tiger Thread. There's a lot of sewing involved in this bag, so we fast forwarded through a lot of it, but if you're not sure how to hand stitch, we'll link our hand stitching video below so you can check that out. Once you've finished stitching, use a hammer or roller and tamp down your stitch line. This will sink the thread down into the leather, close up your chisel holes, and it gives a nice clean look. For the inside pocket, fold the stitched end of the leather up to within 1.5 inches from the top edge and mark it. Next, glue from that mark all the way down on either side. I'll fold this part up and create the inside pocket. Mark and punch your stitching holes where you just glued and folded the leather. We're now ready to sew the outside pocket onto the main body. Lay your pocket on the front panel, making sure it's in the center, and mark the outside using a scratch awl. Glue around the outside edges of the pocket and along the line you marked on the main body. Rough the top grain using your knife. This will help the glue to bond to the leather. Once the pocket is glued in place, I'll mark the stitch lines and punch the holes. Here I am stitching the inside pocket together and stitching the front pocket onto the main body of the bag. To attach the rivets on the inside pocket, we are using the Little Wonder Setter and number 104 tubular rivets. This can also be done by hand, but this machine makes it easy and is affordable. We'll add rivets to the top corners of the pockets at the stress points. For the outside pocket, we're using the same 104 tubular rivets, and this also just helps add strength to the stress points of the pocket. The handles of the bag are made from a 1.5 inch wide belt blank that we cut in half and trimmed to 32 inches long. We rounded the ends and beveled the edges using a number 0 edger. Now I'm slicking the edges using just water and a wooden slicker. Punch the rivet holes into the strap ends where the handles will be attached to the bag. Once you've punched one end, you can use that as a template for the rest of the holes. We used our thread spool to round the corners of the inside pocket. This just gives it a nice professional look. Mark and punch your rivet holes on the inside pocket, making sure they are the same distance apart as the handles will be. We'll be attaching the pocket with the same holes and rivets as the handles. Mark and punch the handle holes on the main body of the bag. I'm using the handles as a template since we've already punched those. I'm using solid copper rivets to attach the handles onto the bag. Set the burr using the setter and then trim the rivets with a nipper. Use your rivet setter to round the cut part of the rivet and remove any sharp edges and then flatten with a hammer. And then we're doing the same thing on the other side of the bag. On the back side of the bag, we will be attaching the inside pocket along with the handles using the top holes of each strap. Here I'm just roughing up the top grain of the leather along the sides of the bag in preparation for the glue. When both sides of the bag have been glued and pressed together, we can mark our stitch lines and punch our stitching holes. Now I'm just sewing the sides of the bag together. To assemble the bottom corners of the bag, apply glue all the way around the opening and let dry 10 minutes. Carefully press the sides together and repeat on the other corner of the bag. Now I'm marking and punching my stitch holes. The last step will be to attach the copper rivets to the top corners of the bag. This will give added strength to the stress points of the bag. We are using the same method as the rivets for the handles. Set the burr, trim the rivet, round it, and then flatten it. All we need to do now is turn the bag right side out. And that's it. The bag is complete. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for more videos.